Hi, dreamers. I'm Percival,
And I'm Viviane.
and we are your hosts of the Dreamscape Chronicles.
If you would like to share a story for us to tell or come on the show and share it yourself, we welcome all dreamers to contact us at dreamscapechronicles@outlook.com. Welcome, everybody. Just a quick few things. Our Patreon is now live. Just search the Dreamscape Chronicles. We will also be putting a link in our show notes to make it easier to find. It's only $1 for Discord access, so you can join our growing community by chatting about the show, voting on polls, and sharing stories with others like yourself. Soon, we will be moving our special episodes and witching hour segments over to Patreon. At a higher tier, you will have access to our personal stories and more of our special episodes. The witching hour segments and other special episodes that we have already released will stay free. But if you are looking for more content like that, Patreon is where you will find them. Now back to our regularly scheduled broadcast.
And we're back, dreamers, episode 16.
That's right.
We're going to be talking about liminal spaces, lurkers at the threshold.
What lurks between thresholds?
Exactly.
Well, I guess we can just jump in, yeah?
Yeah, let's just start.
All right. In basements of memory, along the edges of highways, and in dreams we barely recall, there are places that feel wrong. Not haunted in the classical sense, but void, desolate, humming with a presence that's almost but not there. These are liminal spaces, transitional environments that seem to exist outside the normal bounds of space, time, or meaning.
This episode of the Dreamscape Chronicles, we will explore the connections between sleep states, paranormal entities, and occult liminal ideology, drawing from folklore, psychology, and esoteric research.
I love it.
So, what are liminal spaces?
What are those?
So, the word liminal, derived from the Latin limen, not lemon.
Are we sure? Because everybody calls it like lemon.
It's limen.
It's Lehman. And it's Latin, not Greek, right?
Correct.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So that refers to a state that is in between, a moment of transition. Liminal spaces are transitional zones that exist between definitions, identities, or the realms. In the paranormal context, liminal spaces are believed to be soft spots in reality, a place where the veil between our worlds and another is thin.
Okay.
For example, like empty hallways at nighttime, hotel corridors that seem to go on forever, deserted gas stations in the middle of nowhere, fog-covered roads where you can't see where you came from or where you're going. They're dislocated, uncanny, and feel familiar yet wrong, like a memory you don't remember having. Liminal spaces are transitional places where one state of being can shift into another. These are locations or states that exist on the edge of change or transition.
Okay.
And there is a portal hypothesis that liminal spaces are theorized to be a type of portal, temporarily accessible gateways to other dimensions or planes like dream worlds, spirit realms, and parallel realities.
I have heard that one. That one's like a popular theory.
Right, and we hear portal a lot, but I'm starting to not like the word portal myself.
Portal.
Portal.
It's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. You know what I mean?
The boy who cried portal.
The boy who cried portal. So let's talk about liminal spaces and how it kind of interacts with dreaming, right? So the connection between liminal spaces and dreams as paranormal phenomena has fascinated mystics, psychologists, occultists, and dreamers throughout history, you name it. Some say they are encountering strange entities while asleep, particularly during hypnagogic or hypnopompic states, which is kind of the threshold of waking and sleeping in itself. Many claim that these beings emerge in liminal settings like parking lots at dusk, endless hallways or shopping malls, and vacant schools, perhaps even in the Walmart line when you just don't know you'll ever get checked out.
Or that IKEA that's a maze that you never can escape from.
Precisely. Characteristics of liminal spaces are physically real, but psychologically unsettling. They mirror dream logic, kind of like where doors where there should be walls, rooms that seem to loop. They are often void of people, giving a sense of abandonment or paused time. The longer one remains, the more reality feels thin or porous.
Interesting.
Yeah. In dream work, liminal spaces are deeply symbolic. Dreams themselves are liminal as they exist between waking and unconsciousness. You're neither here nor you're there. You're aware but not bound by physical laws. Just like liminal spaces, dreams are unstable, surreal, and charged with energy. Dreams often surface during times of change, grief, stress, transformation, and growth. That aligns with the classic use of liminal in rites of passage. People enter a liminal phase where they're no longer what they were, but not yet what they'll become. Dreams reflect that uncertainty, revealing hidden fears, desires, or unresolved feelings. Dreams blur the lines between what's real and what's imagined. You're experiencing events, emotions, even physical sensations, but they're happening in a mental space detached from waking life. That ambiguity makes dreams feel like you're standing at the edge of two worlds. In dreams, time, space, and logic often don't follow normal rules. You might be in your childhood home talking to someone from the future. Everything is fluid and transitional, just like liminal spaces. Think of train stations, hallways, hotel lobbies. They're not destinations, but the passage between. These in between places mirror the space between who you were and who you're becoming.
So yeah, they're very much a transitional type zone.
Definitely, definitely. You know, I think I've even had dreams, and I've shared this with you, like a recurring dream even, of going into a house and then feeling sealed in the house, but literally I keep opening doors and going to new rooms. Like this house just keeps continuing.
Right, I think that's liminal.
Very, very liminal. It feels anyway, because it's definitely unsettling.
Right, exactly. So, well, if we look at liminal spaces and the involvement of the occult with it,
Mm.
in the occult, liminal spaces are said to be thin places where the veil between the worlds wear down.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense though, right? And the occult kind of use liminal spaces.
Right. So, spirits, entities, and yes, even astral parasites are believed to move more easily through them. They are absolutely intertwined like crossroads in folklore. These are the places where the rules bend and the unseen reaches out.
It's so creepy.
In occultism, liminal spaces are more than eerie aesthetics, they're PowerPoints.
Like the thing that you click and teach people each slide?
Not exactly.
Oh, oh, like a point of power.
Sure.
Aha. I'm going to introduce all of my presentations that way. This is my point of power.
These are gateways and zones of high metaphysical flux. They represent thresholds between worlds, both physical and spiritual. States such as life and death, sleeping and waking, sanity and madness, and identities, be it your old self and new or human and other.
Yeah. Interesting.
These in between places have long been used in magical and spiritual practices across cultures. Liminal spaces are considered thin, meaning the veil between the material world and the spirit world is more permeable there. This makes them ideal for rituals, spirit contact, and divination. Some practices use crossroads, which are sacred in Hoodoo, Wicca, Greek, and Celtic magic. They are considered to be places to meet spirits, perform rituals, or bargains with entities. Doorways are used in threshold magic and are often protected with wards and charms. Passing through these doorways can be symbolic of rebirth or initiation. Scrying and invoking spirits are practiced at twilight, the time between day and night.
See, I love the ambiguity of liminal spaces is really interesting because I would never have thought of twilight as a liminal space, but even time itself can be liminal.
There is so many things that are liminal that people don't think of. Like if you create an altar for any deity, that's a threshold.
Yeah.
Whether it's you're worshiping Hecate, Hermes,
Or if it's where you do your Bible study every
the
day.
Virgin Mary,
Yeah.
Jesus, all these are thresholds because you're creating a link between you and your belief system, and that leaves that place a transitional space regardless.
Yeah. It's like well, we'll talk about it more, but it's like a residual energy.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the black goop.
The black goop, not the
So,
black spot.
in the magical sense, liminal space equals transformation. You're neither what you were nor what you will be. That makes it powerful for initiations, ego death and rebirth rituals, working with the subconscious and shadow self, contacting tricksters or chaos spirits. Think Hecate, Hermes, or spirits of the in between.
That almost sounds like psychopomps.
Well, they're all very liminal. So,
Very.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Chaos and uncertainty makes space for possibility. Liminal spaces disrupt the norm, and some magic thrive on disruption. Imagine witches doing rituals at night between sleep and waking, dream magic where reality is unstable, and invocations at thresholds, real or symbolic. These spaces invite something to step in, something other.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of a book we were just reading, actually, 6 Ways by Aidan Wachter, because he mentions in there at one point, whenever he has insomnia, he will just, instead of, reading a book or pulling out his phone, he will actually take that and make it into a practice time in the middle of the night. If he wakes up, he'll get up, even if it's 3 in the morning, he'll do his practice, and he will sometimes meditate, sometimes he'll do rituals, but all of that within that time frame, because he feels that it is a liminal shift.
Right.
So that's kind of interesting, and that does it goes straight into the occult side of things.
Right. So let's talk about some liminal entities because that's what we're all here for, right?
We're here for the creature feature.
So, occult systems often warn that liminal places attract wandering spirits, elementals, or astral scavengers. Not all malicious, but not all benign. They're drawn to the flux, to the instability. That's why people leave offerings at crossroads or protect their doorways with charms or wards. You're basically living next to a cosmic turnstile.
So, as it's turning, right, we see lots of different entities. We have hypnagogic and hypnopompic entities that we've already kind of covered on the show. So, if you're interested in some of these, see our previous episodes. We go further in depth on most of these. They include shadow people, the Hat Man, the Old Hag, the Mara, sleep paralysis demons, and lurkers at the door that we have spoken of in many episodes. Now, we also have talked quite a few of the folkloric and mythic liminal entities, because we just covered Hecate, Anubis, and Hermes in our last episode about psychopomps.
Correct, yes.
Yes. And we touched on a few of these others in episodes as well, such as Valkyries, for instance.
We didn't go into depth on them, but in Norse myth, Valkyries choose who will die in battle and bring them to Valhalla. They're fierce feminine liminal agents between life, death, and the afterlife. We have kind of briefly mentioned the Lairs and the Lemirs during our Bean Festival.
Yes, spit them beans.
And these are, in a way, a very liminal thing because Lairs protect a home and the Lemirs are malevolent spirits of the unburied dead, especially active in threshold spaces like doorways or shrines. And then we also talked about the Sidhe. Not in depth, but let's go ahead and cover it. The Celtic fae beings who dwell in the mounds and thin places known to lure mortals during transitional times like dusk, Samhain, and solstice. Neither dead nor living, they straddle multiple worlds.
Yes.
Then we have one we haven't talked about at all, the Baba Yaga, or the Boogeyman, or John Wick. I don't know. Depends on what
your interpretation.
Yeah. So this is basically a Slavic witch or a crone who lives in a hut on chicken legs in the forest. Think Howl's Moving Castle.
So Baba Yaga doesn't have chicken legs. The house does.
Correct.
The hut, rather.
Right.
Gotcha.
So she may grant wisdom, death, or transformation depending on the seeker's intent or purity. And then in Japan, we have the Yuri and the Onyoi.
Yure Onyoi.
Which they're ghosts who dwell near liminal places, shrines, roads, bathrooms, train platforms. They appear at night or in dreams, often bound by emotion or revenge.
I did like these because we even went over them at one point and it said something about, if you have a sufficient enough anger at someone. And I'm thinking, okay, what's sufficient enough? Because I'm pretty angry at some people in my life, but am I sufficiently angry enough to create a Yuri, Yore, or Onyoy?
Think the movie Grudge.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good example.
That's pretty much spot on right there with
Yeah,
that. That'll create a vengeful spirit for sure.
absolutely.
So then if we look at psychic and some of the more occult liminal entities, we have our tulpas, the thought forms that are created by intense focus or ritual visualization. These non-physical beings can act independently, especially when conjured in liminal mental states like trance or lucid dreaming.
If you want to hear more about that, I do recommend that book I just mentioned, Six Ways. It's really good, and it does kind of touch on some of the beginning, how to get started on that.
And then if we look for our elemental spirits, we have air, fire, water, and earth, described by Paracelsus, who we also spoke about.
Right.
They are said to exist just beyond normal perception, often appearing in border zones of natural elements, caves, ding, 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 swamps, and ruins. So this is what we were talking about, that salamander. It kind of makes more sense that they're liminal. I didn't realize that they could be liminal entities.
Well, even if you think back to what was your recurring dream that kind of referenced like a past life of some sort, like that burning village would be considered a ruin.
I
Or
get,
even when you're astral projecting, you go into like this purple world that has more ruins in it.
right, that is definitely a liminal space,
Seems
I
like it's
feel.
connected to elementals
It's
too.
definitely an in between world, and I think that's one of the places where these things use to transition.
I agree.
Okay, so then we have trickster spirits found in many traditions, including Native American coyote, African Eshu, or Norse Loki. Tricksters disrupt structure, rules, and boundaries, appearing in rituals, dreams, or liminal locations like crossroads.
It seems like all of these have in common is like the love of the no structure here. They like the discontent. They like the ambiguity.
Right. And it's the disruption that I think draws them to these places.
In the same sense, it draws it to them and then they create more disruption.
Right. Chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then one of our favorites, astral parasites. Occult accounts describe parasite entities that feed on fear, confusion, and unresolved psychic energy. They lurk in low vibrational areas, abandoned buildings, trauma sites, or dream warped realms,
Mhm.
including astral projection.
That's true. That's true. I feel like lately I have an astral parasite.
And these even can be during meditation. You can pick these up because that's still a transitional state. If you get yourself in a trance, it's also mentioned in Six Ways.
Yes. Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to Douglas Batchelor at What Magic Is This for recommending the book because it has a huge amount of insight.
Oh my gosh. It really opened up my eyes too.
And then we have the Watchers, which I think I might have a Watcher,
Yeah.
possibly. So, occult lore refers to Watchers as beings that observe humanity from liminal zones, some benevolent as guides, others invasive as surveillance beings from other dimensions.
So like a good example of the watcher is that kind of shadow figure that stands at the door and just like literally watches you.
That could be one.
And they don't come in, they're just there.
A lot of people think the one at the doorway is like the Hat Man.
Yeah.
But
Maybe the Hat Man and the watcher get mixed up.
I mean, it could be. I mean, he could be one of the not so nice watchers.
You know what's interesting, and I think this is a good time to share it. I found some interesting information the other day, and it was referring to crows specifically, but birds in general. And what's really fascinating is, we see a crow and it's all black, right?
Right.
Or similar birds that are also all black. But what's crazy is they're not black. We just can't see anything past the black because we only see in violet light. But birds have a different color spectrum. They see on the UV spectrum. So look up a picture of what a bird looks like to another bird. Or if you can find that picture, it's so interesting because they are actually very colorful.
Looks like a peacock.
Yes, yeah, they're not just black. So my question is, these watchers and the Hat Man and the shadow figures, all of them look, the same to us because they're black, but in UV spectrum, they might be completely different.
I mean, that's what I'm assuming is in a certain frequency or spectrum, you can see their full appearance. So let's move to our dream realm entities, right? So this is where you normally get the reports from people of seeing these things reoccurring a lot.
Yeah.
So you have the faceless dreamers, beings encountered in shared dream spaces or lucid dreaming. They lack faces but may mimic voices or emotions, often seen in schools, malls, and corridors. Themes linked to memory and transition.
And I feel like this has happened even in our own house. Like, I was leaving the basement at one point and I heard you calling my name. So I went back downstairs to look for you and where you were, but I only heard it the one time and then I couldn't find you. And then you called my name again, but you were upstairs and you weren't even in the basement.
So you're saying there's a mimic in the house?
I mean, possibly.
That's kind of scary. Then we have the archivist, an entity reported in dreams of vast libraries or records, sometimes appearing as a tall robed figure or humanoid owl. It offers symbolic insight and life data to lucid dreamers.
That's interesting.
Kind of reminds me of Thoth a little bit.
I gotcha.
But I don't know if Thoth would really be a liminal. He could be a
possible,
liminal
yeah.
deity. So, and then we have gatekeepers, a reoccurring dream figure who blocks or tests access to deeper dream realms. I think I could have a gatekeeper too in my reoccurring dream.
I mean, that's the biggest issue with all of the things that we discuss is there's like a phenomena that's happening, but there's like 24 things that it could possibly be. So narrowing it down is near impossible.
Right. And these things may appear as an old wise man, a security guard, or an emotionless guard in a doorway, hallway, or tunnel. And then we have dream oracles, radiant, glowing figures offering prophecy, cosmic visions, or wisdom. Common in deep lucid dreaming or dream incubation rituals, which we will get to pretty soon, I'm thinking. They may appear as loved ones, a goddess or god, or alien intelligence.
These are the ones that people often, I don't want to say mistake, but interpret as, angelic figures.
It could be.
Because it's not that they're mistaken for, they might be angelic figures, and that's just one of their names. You know what I mean?
And then also on the extraterrestrial side, they offer unworldly intelligence.
Yes.
But as said before, angelic beings and these extraterrestrial entities both possess tech that we just aren't capable of understanding or even have. So, shape shift away, man. I mean, that seems like the pattern here.
Keep your tinfoil hat.
And then one of the last ones that we have on our list is the Void Walker, a shadowy or ethereal entity said to live in the void between dreams, often described as pulling dreamers into deeper, darker layers of the dream, where time and form are unstable.
I think the other thing that all of these have in common are their names are pretty fucking wicked, and I would use absolutely any of them as usernames.
The Void Walking Dream Gatekeeper Oracle.
That's my new Stardew Valley.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we're gonna have void chickens, and I'm gonna be the Void Walker. Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about some paranormal theories.
Okay,
Related with liminal spaces. One of my favorites, actually, when we got into this topic and I started researching heavier, this was really cool. But hauntings in liminal spaces is a really common paranormal theory. So common haunted sites include hotels, train stations, old hospitals. But these places are liminal by nature as they're places of arrival and departure, not really meant to be dwelled in. Like, for instance, like an apartment complex wouldn't be an easy one to add to this list. But hotels, train stations, hospitals, you're not there for a long stay. Or at least I hope you're not,
Yeah, exactly. And this brings up a whole bigger line of questioning because the hauntings are using these spaces as gateways.
Yes.
And, graveyards, the hospitals, people are born there, people die there.
Yeah.
Anywhere you can think of transitions, like your house, not necessarily being liminal because you live there, just the fact of walking between doorways or essentially different gateways within your house. So
Right.
your house is full of liminal, platforms, if you will, I guess.
Yeah. And, for the majority, the thing I go back to every time is energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred, right? So if these places are, we're birthing humans, we're helping them transition into death or the place beyond. So all of these are energies. They're not being created or destroyed. Where are they going?
Right.
They have to be impressing on these physical locations.
And ultimately, they will leave some kind of energetic residue, right?
Yes. So that's something that parapsychologists propose. Liminal spaces record psychic energy. And then that is what they're saying creates the loops or those residual hauntings.
Okay.
Yeah. So that ambiguity and lack of identity in these spaces make them ideal for spiritual interference.
That's unique. Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was I really enjoyed this piece of the research.
So it kind of leaves like an imprint on that location.
Exactly. Or like a scar, if you think about it that way.
Or more black goo.
More black goo, girl. More black goo. Mm-hmm.
So what kind of places do you know that are haunted liminal spaces off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, let's go over the low-hanging fruit first. Let's talk about the Stanley Hotel, Estes Park, Colorado. Multiple guests at the historic Stanley Hotel, a known inspiration for The Shining, as we all know, I hope. I mean, if you don't, please go out and watch that movie. You're about 40 years behind. Get it going. Report seeing a shadowy figure pacing in the back stairwell between the second and fourth floors, an area rarely used by guests. One woman staying in room 418 recalled stepping out late at night to get ice. The dimly lit stairwell echoed with soft footsteps, but when she turned, no one was there. She descended one level, only to see a misty silhouette vanish into the wall. Guests and staff alike described the place as dead quiet, but watching you, which is terrifying, with sudden drops in temperature and the feeling of being followed.
That screams haunting to me. That screams like a ghost presence.
It also screams liminal space, if you think about it, because we have that sudden drop in temperature, that eerie feeling.
Right.
Just constant, like a disorientation. That's really what it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So another great example of these paranormal theories, these hauntings in liminal spaces, the energetic residue hauntings, is the Watcher in the Terminal in Cincinnati's Union Terminal in Ohio. Right. Yeah.
If you live in Ohio, please let us know.
Let us know. Leave us a comment. If you can. If you speak that language. Good gravy. Anyway, Cincinnati's Union Terminal, Ohio. This is the Watcher in the Terminal. Now a museum, this former train station is an Art Deco masterpiece and home to one of the most unsettling liminal hauntings in the Midwest, is what it's said to be. Staff closing up late at night report seeing a man in an old conductor's uniform standing silently at the far end of the abandoned concourse. He's often seen just beneath the massive half-dome windows, but vanishes as anyone approaches. In one documented case, a security camera even picked up a flickering form matching the descriptions, but the footage corrupted seconds later. The spot remains colder than the rest of the terminal, and many workers refuse to pass through it alone after midnight.
Creeper's gonna creep.
For sure, for sure.
That's some wicked stuff. I don't know how I'd feel about going to these places at nighttime, but hey, if anybody wants to support us and offer donations, we'll go check these places out.
Oh yeah, we'll do it.
But I'm broke, so
somewhat reluctantly, but we'll do it.
So what you got next?
Well, keeping it with, I guess, terminals and trains, we have the echoing platform in Aldwych, the abandoned tube station of London, UK.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, we're Americans, so,
That's true.
We have that tunnel vision stuck to our own country.
Yay, false history.
Woo! Though closed to the public since 1994, the disused Aldwych Underground Station is sometimes accessible via private tours. Former workers and film crews have spoken of hearing train announcements from decades ago echoing through empty tunnels. One night watchman recounted hearing a woman's voice singing faintly in the dark while doing rounds, only to later learn that a theater above had once used the platform as a World War II air raid shelter where a female performer died during a bombing.
Oh, wow.
The ghostly melodies and sudden flickering lights have become a hallmark of the haunted liminality of London's hidden underground.
That's crazy.
And I love all of these because there is like no sense that you would see these hauntings in these spaces except for the idea that they are liminal spaces with residual hauntings, that scar on the physical place again. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's so cool and very unsettling, but very cool.
So there are some theories and interpretations, like Jungian psychology. These entities are archetypes from the collective unconscious, representing shadow selves, transitions, and unresolved trauma. In esoteric occultism, liminal spaces are astral planes or border zones in the tree of life. Entities are watchers or guardians. And in simulation theory, liminal dreams are glitches or transitions in a simulated reality. Entities may maintain the algorithms there. Or we have the quantum consciousness, where dreams tap into alternate realities or many worlds, liminal spaces or intersections where timelines are thin. So, whether psychological or spiritual or something else entirely, the convergence of liminal space and sleep invites serious inquiry. The consistency of descriptions, the emotional weight of testimonies, and the symbols that reoccur point towards something more than just coincidence. In the edges of our consciousness and in the empty hallways of our dreams, something watches, waits, or mirrors us. So perhaps a better question is not what these entities are, but why do they always meet us at the thresholds? Liminal spaces are not just settings, they're also tools, thresholds, and teachers. Step into one, and you're in a place where time breaks, identity melts, and magic can touch you back.
So now that we've kind of defined what a liminal space is and we have a good base grasp on the concept, right? Maybe you're asking yourself, how do you know if you're in a liminal space? Let's kind of talk about some key things that you can look for, some signs. Because recognizing when you are in a liminal space, whether physically, psychologically, or in a dream, requires tuning into a set of sensory, emotional, and symbolic cues. These spaces often blur boundaries between the real and unreal, the known and the unknown. Here's how to tell if you're in one. So, few key signs, right? One, time feels off. You can't really tell what time it is. Maybe the clocks are missing, broken, or irrelevant in the environment. It feels paused or stuck, like a loading screen, but in real life, right?
Okay.
Okay. You may even feel like you've been there for hours or maybe seconds. You can't really tell.
Hmm.
So a good example of this would be like a mall with no music playing and no people, bathed in orange sunset light that never seems to change.
That would kind of be creepy.
Yeah, like you're not really sure what time it is, but nothing seems to be ticking.
I could see why that would feel very anxiety driving because
Oh,
you're like in
definitely.
this weird in between place and there's nobody there. You're like, it'd be like waking up and you're the only person left in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Super
last man
creep
on earth.
fest. Yeah, yeah. What's some more?
So, the next key sign is the place is meant for transition and not living. So, for instance, you're in a hallway or a stairwell, airport gate, school hallway after hours, empty parking garage, hotel corridor. You know the basics, right?
Right.
These places exist between destinations, but it's never the destination itself. You don't, go home just to sit in your hallway, right?
Right.
Or maybe you do. Maybe you're just that weirdo. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
No judgment.
Some of us are weirdos.
That's cool. I'm gonna take my book and read in the hallway someday. Just try it out. Um, A good example in this instance would be like a dream. You walk through doors endlessly but never reach the intended room.
Oh, so that's like that dream you were talking about
Yes, where it's
in the
like
house.
each room is a connection of another room. You open the door and you think you found an exit, but instead it's just a lead into another room.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's a good sign. Or maybe it's not. I'm not sure. However you want to interpret it. Next sign would be people are absent or wrong. So what I mean by that, there's no people, or there are people who feel off. Maybe they're repeating their movements, or they're faceless, or they have no emotion to them. You're feeling observed, but you can't see anyone. Or maybe someone speaks, but it's delayed or meaningless. For instance, a receptionist sits at a desk in a hospital lobby, but never moves or looks up.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, right? Because the
Okay.
receptionists are supposed to be kind of like greeters in a way, right?
It's like a broken computer thing.
Yeah.
This is like the simulation thing to me.
Yes, like peek in the matrix type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next sign would be architecture or logic is slightly wrong. Now, whenever we keep saying wrong, it's not necessarily even that it's right or wrong. It's just it feels off, right?
Okay.
So in this instance with the architecture, it would be like hallways looping back on themselves. So not quite the same way as the dream, but the next one is pretty similar. Rooms being larger or smaller than they should be.
Like a TARDIS?
Kinda, yeah. Bigger on the inside, right? Or if you're the impossible girl, it's smaller on the outside. For you Whovian fans, you'll get it. Another one would be like a light source, but not having any origin.
Okay.
So for instance, you're in a room and there's light, but there's no lamps, there's no skylight, there's no windows, there's just light.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then there's others would be like reflections that don't match what's in front of them. For instance, a mirror shows a hallway behind you, but when you turn around, it's not really there.
That sounds like a gateway.
Yes. Actually, a lot of people see mirrors themselves as liminal spaces because you're neither here nor there. It's just reflecting back an image, but there is kind of that barrier between.
That's pretty crazy.
Isn't that neat? I think, honestly, if we were to go back for more research in that area, we might see where, witches are trapped in mirrors. The theory behind that is a liminal space.
That's why they cover mirrors when people are having...
When they die.
Yes.
Yes, having that transitional moment into another realm. They don't want them to be caught in the mirror.
They could cross the wrong threshold.
They could. Or they could get stuck in our threshold where they're
Right.
not really meant to be necessarily.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Moving on, there's another one. There's a deep and inexplicable emotional tone. So what I mean by that is like the sense of familiarity, like deja vu or nostalgia, maybe some melancholy about a space that you're feeling. Like you're feeling both drawn and repelled by that space. You know what I mean?
Maybe an arcade or like a Blockbuster.
Similar, yes. Like maybe you remember being there, but you don't remember when you were there. Like you have that distinct memory, but you don't know why.
Gotcha.
Many report a sense of being watched or not alone in these areas. So like, for instance, a child's playground is fully intact but coated in dust and no footprints.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So next example would be environmental sensory details are muted or amplified. So like the lights buzz, but they're way too loud, or shadows are too sharp, or again, kind of off-colored, wrongly colored, or echoes that are unnatural. Air can feel thick, still, or static charged. That's another good example or sign. So for instance, like fluorescent lights flickering even when they're off, or the floor feels sticky or soft.
Weird.
You know what I mean? These are kind of more examples that you would feel maybe in a dream, but the fluorescent lights flickering when they're off, I think I actually have had that experience in one of the schools that I went to. Because like I went in and it was very strange. It was like there was flickering light, but there was windows open, there was natural light, but all the lights were off. Very strange. Very disorienting again.
It just gets weirder.
So another example would be time and space behaving like a dream, even if you're awake, which I feel this a lot. I get that disoriented feeling. For instance, you forget how you're there or how you got there, or exits change location or disappear, or you try to leave but end up in the same room from a different angle.
Mind warping.
Yeah. I think the example I keep coming back to, and I have another example for it, but what I experience most is like whenever you're driving in the car and you're in a place that you drive often enough that you're talking to somebody else, and then maybe you consider it tuning out, but I feel like I'm auto driving, and then I'll get like 5 miles down the road and I'm like, how did I get here? I don't remember driving those last 5 miles.
That's pretty weird.
You know what I mean? Have you ever had that experience?
No, not exactly, but that's kind of reminiscent of alien abductions, actually.
Very similar,
Like
yeah.
lost time.
Yes, yeah. And I remember being behind the wheel in a way, but I don't remember the action of driving those last few miles.
Gotcha. That's pretty crazy. So overall, we didn't talk about any of the backroom stuff. We were trying to keep away from creepypasta and,
Yeah.
anything that could be fabricated. And it was kind of hard because it's, backroom smeared all over
Oh my gosh,
liminal
yeah.
spaces. But what do you feel about liminal spaces and what we've talked about in the past?
I mean, I think that, like I said, a lot of the things that we approach in our topic could be like 24 different things. This is a very big one that crosses over with a lot of the things we've already talked about. Psychopomps, we talked about even Lilith could be considered in a liminal space all the time.
Right, because like a succubus or the incubus thing that comes at night in your
In
dream
your
state.
dreams. Exactly.
And there are so many other types of liminal spaces. This stuff can be mentally, you could be going through a divorce is a liminal state, or in between jobs, or like homeless, things that affect you mentally without even really realizing these are liminal states.
Right. Because, I mean, the word space is in there, so we think physicality, but it could be a headspace. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A mental space that you're in, or a mental state that you're in. A really good example actually is the pandemic, because that's an excellent example of liminal spaces. During the pandemic, we were suspended between our lives, what they were before the respiratory virus, and what life will look like afterward. I mean, I know whenever I think of 5 years ago, I don't feel like we lived through that. It felt like something that we watched on TV.
Right. And even leaving the house whenever you had to, there were like nobody around. So it did feel very liminal just being in the world in general.
Yeah, that feeling of being wrong or off, like people were absent, time
Yeah.
wasn't passing
It
properly.
just felt like everything was fake at the
Yeah.
time. Like nothing was real.
Yeah.
But these liminal states affect us all, whether we are privy to them or they go by unseen in our
Mhm.
everyday lives. We're going to experience them at some point or another.
Yeah. I think it's just easier for us to see the physical side of this phenomena because we do see, hallways and doorways. We experience that disorientation physically in daily life, whether or not we choose to recognize it, like you said.
Right, exactly.
But there are so many other liminal spaces that we maybe don't see as liminal spaces because they're not easy to see. They're not physical.
Yeah, and there's so many, and we've barely touched the surface on liminal spaces.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I think this was a great episode.
Yeah, and maybe we'll come back around to the topic and cover some more on it.
Yeah, it seems like no matter what, every time we try to pinpoint one thing, it all circles back around to the same, handful of things.
That's true. It's like trying to pick apart a crochet blanket.
Right, exactly.
Like you pull on one thing, and then it leads to another, that leads to another, it leads to another. But hey, if we've missed anything or if you guys want to add anything in, like we said, our Discord is live, so go ahead and start chatting with us. Get on Patreon. Whatever works for you. We want to know more about your experiences with liminal space or your experience with the paranormal. We want more.
Give us your stories.
Give us your stories, my pretty. So until next time, keep dreaming and
Join us in discovering what may lie beyond the walls of sleep.